Joining us, founder and principal of Blue Stack Strategies and former advisor to House Speaker John Boehner, Maura Gillespie, Alex Wagner back with us. So, Maura, is there a difference between the hardcore MAGA voters, Trump voters who vote in the primaries, and the voters who vote in general elections?
There is, and you're going to see the turnout be the biggest question that we have. Turnout becomes the biggest question by and far, when it comes to how many voters are going to show up based on what's happening in their pocketbooks, in their backyards, in their home life. If they feel as though life has not gotten better for them, they're going to show up in November and vote that way. I think that what you're seeing right now, we have a low turnout when it comes to primary voters. And a lot of those who showed up in Texas, in Kentucky, were the boomer generation. Young people are feeling a bit of apathy about the entire political process and don't feel as though there may be a role for them to play. And so what happens with those voters, and where do they go? Where do they turn? And do they show up? And so Republicans who are in Congress or who are looking to get their vote are going to have to speak to them and to the issues that matter to them. And that's going to be the Iran war. It's going to be economic costs, gas prices, and, like you mentioned, inflation.
Do you see this being more acute in maybe some places we might not expect? Do you see it being a factor in Texas, a factor in Georgia, which Republicans want to win back desperately, take away that seat from Jon Ossoff?
I think it could be. I think that what you're going to see is the Republicans in the Senate, they're pretty pissed about what happened over the president choosing to endorse Ken Paxton over John Cornyn, just given the, really what John Cornyn has done for not only the GOP, but also for Trump himself. And then to see that play out because of some, discrepancies or some really personal issues that the president has, I think it's a real big gift to Tallarico and puts that seat at risk that it didn't need to be. It doesn't have to be at risk, but because of the president's decisions and the president's actions, Republicans are going to be feeling that pain point when it comes to November. And I don't see that there's going to be much of a turnaround opportunity for them between now and then unless they distance themselves from the president and point out the fact that the president is patting his own pockets and not delivering on promises he made. For all those people who agree with the president against the EV mandates under the Biden administration, they're now paying double in gas prices for their cars. So.
Yeah, and we pointed that out. I mean, if Donald Trump wanted to empower gasoline and empower, fossil fuels, starting a war with Iran and cutting off fossil fuels and the supply for the country and making gas prices go up everywhere, including here at home, at the same time as he's cutting off EVs, not smart politically, not smart strategically. Let me put up a Fox News poll because I think this is so interesting. We know how independents feel. We know how Democrats feel about Donald Trump. The independent number, as you know, Alex, has just gone way up through the roof. But look at Republicans, MAGA Republicans. Trump's approval is 80% among MAGA Republicans. That's an all-time low for MAGA Republicans and Donald Trump. Non-MAGA Republicans, only 54% think he's doing a good job. White voters, 43% think he's doing a good job. Rural voters, 43% think he's doing a good job. This is the squishiest Donald Trump has ever been among Republicans.
Yeah, it suggests that the floor may not be a floor at all, that he may have further to go. We've sort of operated under the assumption that he'll always have like 30% of the country with him, but that may not be true. And you got to look at the macroeconomic factors here. We talked about corruption a lot at the beginning of the show, Katie, and I think one of the reasons why that message is more resonant right now is because Americans are hurting financially. They can't afford to drive to summer vacations. They can't afford the hamburger meat for the Memorial Day barbecue. Maybe they can't afford the air conditioning. They certainly don't have extra money for, purchase power. The purchase power has been grossly diminished. A lot of them are just buying things on credit at this point. If you're a young American, you're worried about all this plus the AI revolution that this administration has done nothing to have a real conversation about. I mean, he's effectively forsaken the economic concerns of Americans at the same time that he's dead set on building a ballroom and repainting the reflecting pool for millions and millions of dollars and erecting an arch and going to war with Iran for reasons nobody can quite articulate, and is at the, sacrificing Americans' health and financial well-being in the process. That's why the sort of corruption message, I think, right now resonates more than it would in any other year, because Americans are in pain. And if you go into the crosstabs of that polling that you just showed, if you go into, subsections of white, non-college educated voters, he's losing them in greater numbers than he had in 2024. Young people, he has a 19% approval rating among voters 18 to 29. I mean, he is hemorrhaging votes. The idea that he's going to hold on to the coalition that he had in 2024 with young people, independents, Latinos, young men of color, like they're all gone. And he's done nothing to keep them in the tent.
Alex, do they stay at home or do they vote for the Democrat?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I think what you've seen in some cases with young, especially groups that were more traditionally Democrat that defected to Trump in 2024, is that they're willing to come back to Democrats. That doesn't mean that Democrats' job is done. I mean, I think they can ride the anti-Trump wave and should through November, but there are going to be huge questions about what the Democratic Party stands for on certain key issues if and when they once again control the gavel and if they are going for the White House. I mean, there needs to be a real circling of the wagons there so that people can understand what the Democratic Party is about beyond just a bulwark against the worst impulses of the Trump administration.
Maura, look at this poll we have up here right now. Who do you want to control Congress? We'll put it back up. 50% say Democrats, 39% say Republicans, 11% say independents. So do you take this as this is not just a Donald Trump problem, this is a party problem?
I think it's a party problem if Republicans don't reclaim their authority, especially in Congress. And if you just continue to give away everything to the president, what do you get for that loyalty? And to what Alex is saying, I think that, yes, Democrats will ride this wave in November, but that's what got us here in the first place. If we continue to just bank on this anti-Trump versus pro-Trump, the pendulum keeps swinging, there has to be a plan. There has to be some sort of policy initiative put forward to get those voters to come to you. Because just because I disagree with Donald Trump does not make me a Democrat. And so putting things forward that would actually show me how an economy would work under your leadership, that needs to be put forward, and I don't know that Democrats have done that yet. They have some time, but right now it doesn't. I think banking on that and assuming that this anger and this frustration with the Trump administration is a guaranteed Democratic vote, it's just not. And so I have more concerns about apathy towards voting than anything else right now.
All right, Maura Gillespie, really good to have you. Thank you so much. Alex, always good to have you. Thanks for sticking around for so much of the show.